Thanks for joining me on Wheel Good Time, where today we're going to be learning how to ride an electric unicycle. Let's jump straight into the skills section. Just like riding a bicycle, an EUC has to constantly be moving in order to maintain its balance. If you go exceptionally slow, it's going to be a lot harder to maintain your balance. So always be moving, and preferably moving faster within your comfort level. Next, you're going to be stepping one single foot onto your electric unicycle. It's very important to have as much real estate touching the wheel as possible. By that, I mean you need to have your foot pressing up against the side of the EUC. This is just for learning purposes, and once you get comfortable with it, it won't be nearly as important. But what you need to be doing is pressing up against the side of the wheel in order to maintain the balance and keep it upright. If you are not pressing down and not keeping your shin pushed against the wheel, it's gonna flop over. You need to be pressing down and have your shin putting pressure on it. Our very next step is just doing little arcs with the wheel. You can choose whichever leg you want. It doesn't really matter as long as you're comfortable with it. You should be practicing this with either leg, and then once you find that one leg is more comfortable than the other, stick with it for the learning process. Now, at the risk of looking like a total goober, now we're just going to be doing little circles. Make sure no one's actually watching you do this because you look kind of weird doing it. Now that you've gotten comfortable keeping the EUC upright with one leg, now we're going to be moving to both legs. Find yourself a stationary object such as a tree, a fence, a wall, or a friend, just to keep you upright. Grab your stationary object and stand up on your wheel and put both feet on there. Get your feet comfortable and in a nice position, and then just start moving forward and back. Get used to the motion of the wheel and how when you lean forward, the wheel also goes forward. When you lean back, it stops, and then eventually it starts moving backwards. Now it's time for the most challenging portion of learning how to ride, mounting and dismounting. For the very first step, all you're going to be doing is moving the wheel forward with one leg. You're not going to be putting the other leg onto the other pedal quite yet. Just move it forward and stop. By doing this motion, it's emphasizing the importance in keeping the shin up against the side of the wheel in order to keep it upright. This is why riding an EUC with one leg is really not much of a trick, but more of a basic skill, because that's part of mounting and dismounting. What you want to be focusing on is how long you can ride that wheel with just one leg before putting the other foot on there. Now it's time to actually get on the wheel and mount it. Again, you have to stay in motion in order for you to be balancing. So you're going to be hopping on the wheel and going forward. Get your other foot on the wheel and keep on moving forward. You're going to be pushing forward with this foot that's on the ground, and then you're going to be putting your foot up against the wheel. Remember, get your foot up against the side of the wheel for maximum real estate touching the side of the wheel. This is very important because you want as many points of contact with the wheel as possible. If necessary, you can rely on using the solid object in order to help you get on the wheel. So jump on it and get the other foot on. Remember, your EUC has to constantly be staying in motion, or else it will fall over to the left or to the right. So don't stop and don't slow down too much, or else you will fall over. Turning on an EUC is a very natural thing. All you have to do is use your hips to turn and put pressure on one pedal more than the other, and the wheel will tilt from one side to the other, and due to the natural rounded profile of the tire, it will start to turn for you. Obviously, if your wheel is completely upright and moving forward, it's going to stay moving forward without turning. Dismounting can be a challenge for some people, but it's essentially the same thing as mounting your wheel. You just come to slow to a stop and drop one foot to the side. Again, you want to make sure that the leg that is holding the wheel upright is putting pressure onto the side of the wheel in order to keep it up. As far as the skill section is concerned, that's really it. It's not that hard, but there is a bit of a learning curve. So for some people, it can take a few hours to learn. But for some other people, it may take up to a few weeks to learn. It's important to keep working at it daily, and I recommend practicing for a minimum of 30 minutes plus each day without breaks until something in your brain clicks. Riding an EUC is just like riding a bike in the manner that once you learn and it clicks in your brain, you'll never ever forget it. Even if you take months or years off of riding, you still will be able to do that naturally years later. Now that we've covered the skill section, we have 3 important aspects to discuss. Ground type that you're going to be learning on, safety gear, and wheel selection. If this is your very first EUC, you're going to be laying it down or having a few low speed crashes in the learning process. This is a bit harsh on your wheel. So learning how to ride on asphalt may be scratching up your wheel and damaging it potentially a little bit, but it's also a lot easier to learn how to ride on a really smooth surface. On the other hand, you have learning how to ride on dirt or grass. This is going to be a lot easier on your wheel, but it's going to be more challenging for you to learn because of the uneven surface. Ideally, if you have your own private golf course, I recommend putting a solid object like a post or a fence right around the putting green, and then you can learn how to ride there. The next discussion point is safety gear. When learning how to ride an EUC, the absolute bare minimum that you should have for protection is a helmet. Not just any helmet either. You need something with full face protection, something with a chin bar that goes across your face. Because if you crash going forward, one of the first things that is going to be potentially breaking is your jaw. Next, I recommend wrist protection and knee protection. If you fall sliding forward, wrists and knees are going to be one of the first things that land on the ground, so I recommend getting those as well. When you get into the higher speeds, you want to have something that has much higher protection level. We're talking motorcycle grade. When you're exceeding 30 miles an hour, you want a motorcycle helmet that is at a bare minimum DOT/ECE approved. Again, always have a full face helmet with a chin bar. After that, you want to have something that protects your shoulders, elbows, and chest and back. Motorcycle jackets do the trick with that because it's kind of a one-stop shop where it covers all of your bases on your top half. Also, if you're going exceedingly fast, you may also want to invest in hip protection because if you fall leaning off to the side, you want something that can pad your sides. Finally, EUC selection. I recommend a wheel that has an edge-to-edge diameter of no more than 20 inches and no less than 14 inches. This is the Begode Extreme, and this is a wheel that I recommend to an adult learner. This wheel may not be the easiest to learn on because it is almost 100 pounds, but it does have a small enough diameter and it is powerful enough to get you from point A to point B after you learn how to ride that you're not going to be outgrowing it anytime soon, if ever. Other EUCs that are popular to learn on are in the 18 to 20 inch range, such as the InMotion V11, the Begode T4, the Kingsong S16, or in the 20 inch range, the Begode Master or the Kingsong S22 Pro. If you happen to be in the market for a new EUC, check out the video description where you can get discount codes and affiliate links that help support the channel. All of my videos take a long time to plan, film, and edit. So if you found this video to be educational or helped you in some way, please like and subscribe. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.